Snow White is directed by Marc Webb and is a remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This film follows Snow White, played by Rachel Zegler, who teams up with seven dwarfs to stop her kingdom from the wrath of her evil stepmother, played by Gadot. Now, straight off, there's no getting around it. There's been a lot of noise surrounding this film, but me personally, I've been quite looking forward to it, actually. Now, when it comes to the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, I recently rewatched it, and don't get me wrong, it's an entertaining film, but it is very outdated, especially with how it portrays the character of Snow White. So unlike a lot of Disney remakes, I actually felt like there was space for improvement. I like Marc Webb as a director, I really like Rachel Zegler as an actress, so even despite the mixed reviews, I had some hope for this movie. The best thing about this movie is Rachel Zegler. She is a powerhouse. She's proven with West Side Story and Hunger Games Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes that her voice is incredible, and her singing in the movie is top notch, but I expected that. I never even doubted that. But her performance as well is really engaging. She's instantly likeable, and her character has a very positive view on the world, and the way Zegler portrays that is engaging. Speaking of singing, Snow White is a musical. While this movie does feature songs from the original, they do rework those songs, and there are also a lot of new songs as well. These songs are written by Benj Pasek and Justin Paul. They wrote the music for The Greatest Showman, Dear Evan Hansen, La La Land. I'm a big fan of them, and I really like their music here. The songs are catchy, they work well in the film, there's an energy to them, and they never feel out of place. From a visual standpoint, this movie looks beautiful. It's shot by Mandy Walker, who shot Elvis, and the colours are very vibrant. The visual style of this movie really is just very fantastical, and that worked for me. In terms of the actual story, my favourite part of Snow White is the second act. This is where the dwarfs come in, and also where the romance is introduced. I know there's been a lot of talk about the look of the dwarves, but personally, I liked the look of them. And in general, their scenes in this movie are very entertaining. Now, one of the big things this film updates is the romance. In the original Snow White, the love interest character is a nothing character. He appears once at the beginning, appears once at the end, that's it. But here the love interest character played by Andrew Burnap actually has a motivation. He actually has a character. I thought the chemistry between Zegler and Burnap was really good as well. And they have a couple of duets together, and going back to the songs, I really liked their songs together. So there's a lot that worked for me in Snow White, but there's also a fair bit that didn't work for me. I think this film has quite a poor start. It really rushes through the setup of the world and Snow White's backstory as well. I understand the things they were going for, but they really needed to spend more time on them for them to actually work. So whenever the film cut back to the evil queen or anything to do with the kingdom, I wasn't as engaged. Now, Gal Gadot. Her performance in this movie is interesting. I see what she was going for with her performance, but ultimately it just kind of feels like she was reading off cue cards the entire time. And this is especially apparent in scenes with Rachel Zegler, who is really good. Also, a lot of the stuff I like in the second act, especially the dwarfs, kind of become irrelevant in the third act, and that was disappointing. So there are elements of this movie that I definitely feel could have had more depth as well. Overall, Snow White is a mixed bag. There's stuff I really liked, stuff that didn't work for me, but ultimately, the positives stand out a bit more than the negatives to me, and I left the cinema feeling good. I don't think it's one of Disney's best remakes, but I don't think it's one of their worst either. I'm going to give Snow White a B-. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. You guys are awesome. Blu-ray Billy, logging off.